Imagine a man who lived over 4,600 years ago, so brilliant in a primitive age that he was turned into a god by his own descendants. A man who designed the world's first pyramid, who laid the foundations of Egyptian medicine, who was an engineer, a priest, an astronomer, a philosopher, and an architect. A man whose ideas and inventions shaped an entire civilization. This is Imhotep, humanity's first recorded polymath. But what's truly astonishing is that almost no one talks about him today. A near-mythical figure whose contributions were so vast, they seem more like legend than history. We're in a newly unified Egypt, where pharaohs were still struggling to cement their divine authority. What they needed were symbols, monuments that could defy both time and death. Pharaoh Djoser, determined to make his reign unforgettable, summoned Imhotep. What followed didn't just transform Egypt, it revolutionized the history of human architecture. The Step Pyramid at Saqqara, the first monumental structure built entirely from carved stone, a vast complex filled with temples, courtyards, deep shafts, secret burial chambers, and sacred corridors, in a time when most of the world still built with mud brick and timber. Towering over 60 meters high and composed of nearly 330,000 limestone blocks, in an age without wheels, cranes, or iron tools, Imhotep pushed the boundaries of what humans could achieve. He organized hundreds, possibly thousands of workers, coordinated artisans, scribes, and craftsmen, planning every single block, staircase, and architectural detail. But he wasn't just a builder, he was a visionary. His thinking anticipated symbolic structures, not just to honor a king, but to bridge heaven and earth. The pyramid wasn't merely a tomb, it was a stairway to the divine, a manifestation of cosmic order on earth. Through sacred architecture, Imhotep transformed death into a physical and visual form of eternity. More than that, he established a precedent that defined the Egyptian civilization: the integration of spirituality with technology, belief with innovation. His pyramid would inspire everyone that followed, from Giza to Nubia. And it all started with one man who dared to dream in stone. Imhotep wasn't limited to stone and mortar. He is believed to have authored now-lost medical texts, praised centuries later by Egyptian and Greek scholars alike. He may have written treatises on diagnosis, surgical techniques, and even anatomy. In an age where illness was seen as a curse, Imhotep introduced reason, observation, and method. He likely recommended herbal remedies, clinical observations, and rudimentary surgical procedures, a true revolution in medical thought. People came to the temples built in his honor to be healed. Inscriptions plead for forgiveness, healing, and long life. Centuries later, the Egyptians worshipped him as a god of healing, and the Greeks equated him with Asclepius, their own god of medicine. The fact that such a culturally distinct civilization embraced him shows just how profound his influence was on health and science. It's said that doctors in Alexandria studied in his temples, drawing directly from his methods. Those temples became early hospitals, sanctuaries of healing in the ancient world. Reports of miraculous cures were documented in these sacred spaces, making him a living symbol of hope. Pilgrims from across Egypt would sleep in his temples, hoping to dream the cure to their ailment. It was spiritual medicine intertwined with physical observation, a precursor to today's holistic healing. Unlike most ancient figures, Imhotep's name didn't just survive, it ascended. He was one of the very few non-royal humans ever deified in ancient Egypt. In a society where only pharaohs could dream of eternal life, Imhotep was the only commoner to be elevated into the divine pantheon. His cult lasted more than 2,000 years. He had temples dedicated solely to him, and statues of his likeness were carried in sacred processions. His name was invoked in prayers, in medical oaths, and in magical incantations. Such spiritual longevity is unheard of, surpassing even many of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. Why? Because Imhotep wasn't just a national hero, He was a bridge between the divine and the scientific, between magic and logic. He was living proof that a person could transcend their status through knowledge, ethics, and vision. To the Egyptians, Imhotep wasn't just a model. He was hope itself, that wisdom could be just as sacred as royal blood. Imhotep wasn't only an architect or a healer, he was an astronomer, high priest of Ra, chief scribe, philosopher, and royal advisor. He likely played a central role in developing Egypt's solar calendar, understanding celestial cycles with remarkable precision. He studied stars, tracked lunar phases, and decoded the annual flooding of the Nile, all woven into a coherent vision of the cosmos. This wisdom made him indispensable in the royal court. He was the pharaoh's confidant, perhaps even more powerful than the later viziers. Despite his enormous fame, Imhotep's tomb has never been discovered. Egyptologists believe it lies somewhere in Saqqara, perhaps near the very pyramid he built. If unearthed, it could become one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of all time. What might we find there? Surgical instruments, lost papyri, architectural plans, perhaps philosophical writings offering a new lens into ancient Egypt. Or, even more astonishing, clear evidence that Imhotep was the first human to understand both the human body and the cosmos. His tomb could unlock a missing chapter in human history, a bridge between spirituality and reason, between tradition and progress. Each day it remains hidden adds another layer of mystery. Imhotep was what Leonardo da Vinci would become 4,000 years later, a symbol of universal genius. In a world increasingly obsessed with specialization, he reminds us that true innovation is born from the merging of disciplines. His integrated thinking, his ability to see beyond the limits of his time, made him a figure that transcends history. We may never know everything he achieved, but his influence laid the foundation of an entire civilization. And today, as the modern world searches once more for vision, wisdom, and harmony between science and humanity, Imhotep emerges not as a relic of the past, but as a role model for the future. And before you go, subscribe for more. If you've made it this far, you're part of the elite who seek meaning in the ruins of history. 99% of our viewers aren't subscribed. So, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and join the 5 Minutes of Culture community. We have many more layers of the past to uncover, together. And maybe, just maybe, someone will say the same about you one day.